Thanks everybody for the second day of the agility event, which is DEFCON. So I'm Pete Cooper, I'm one of the founders of the Aerospace Village, and here doing the Fireside chat with Chris.
Yeah, Chris Roberts, CISO over at Boom Supersonic. I love the intro, because when I was interviewed, they were like, hey, how do you fancy securing the next generation of lawn dart? And I'm like, yes.
Now, as Chris said, he hasn't killed Tom, so I'm going to keep an eye out for like screams or faces. So if anybody feels more uncomfortable, please just raise your hand. This is a safe space for everybody, really. Yes, so we're going from there. So the Aerospace Village is all about having great, diverse voices talking about things they're passionate about and how we can collaborate together to make the aerospace sector as safe and secure as possible, and bring in all of those voices, be they hackers, be they researchers, government, industry. And that's why our Fireside chat with Chris is we think really important, because Chris has been around this as a topic for years. He's got loads of experience and different perspectives on this, but he now finds himself as a CISO securing one of the most advanced next-gen aircraft in the world. So we really want to get him in his perspectives of how he's doing that, what he's approaching, and then sort of like lessons that he can sort of offer out to the community going forward. So, Chris?
Yeah, love the idea, absolutely. And I mean, to Pete's point as well, we're fortunate, we have an entire greenfield. So the lovely thing about being a Boom is our ability to actually take a step back and go, how have things been done? Versus maybe how would we like to do them differently? Look at the community, look at what we've done in our own industries, learn from that, and maybe more efficiently and more effectively bring that into our small little world of aviation, see how it works, and then see if we can work with the rest of the teams out there too.
So do you want to do a quick elevator pitch on Boom to start with?
Yeah, I mean, perfect example. How many of you, quick show of hands, how many of you remember the Concorde? Not necessarily show your age on remember it, but know what the hell the stupid thing is. So take the Concorde and the technology that was built in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, fast forward that to the 2020s, with better aerodynamics, better fluid dynamic knowledge, better engine knowledge, better metallurgy knowledge, better knowledge of how we can actually punch through the air faster, more effectively, sustainable aviation fuel, apply that, chuck something up at 60,000 feet, and instead of most of us spending 6, 8, 10, 12 hours on a tin can, we take 1 to 2/3 of that away, get you there faster, quicker, and safer. That literally is Boom Supersonic.
And you've been brought in sort of from the CISO perspective of securing it from the ground up. But
yeah.
The first thing is going to be talking about the threats, be that environmental, be that adversaries, be that how do you lay the groundwork on what it is you're defending against?
I think I'm fortunate because again, I'm lucky we've got a lot of people inside the company who have come from the industry. So there's a lot of teams out there that have come from like the Lockheeds and various other teams, the Skunkworks teams and Formula One teams. So they understand what data is. They understand maybe how certain data has to be classified, how certain data can't leave these shores, and how certain data and certain systems are core and key. So basically, what are the keys to our kingdom? Intellectual property. So that's a nice starting ground. And then it's building awareness and understanding around that. But the first thing, honestly, a CISO does when they walk in is go, what do I have? So looking at the assets that the organization have. We have 3.5 hours away from here in Moab, an experimental jet that's going through final FAA certification. That thing's absolutely bloody amazing. Now, right next to my office in Colorado, we have the full-size Ironbird, which we're building everything in, and now in North Carolina, we have the factory. So each one of those is an entirely different ecosphere as to what we need to deal with threats. Some of it's intellectual property and data, some of it is technical information, some of it is just data that we need to ensure the integrity and the safety of the systems that we're building. In other words, when the FAA says, hey, in 20 years' time, give me all the records for that chassis number or engine number or whatever, we can produce that in an immutable manner. So there's all sorts of different considerations. But again, all comes down to data.
And from that perspective of getting the groundwork done, working across the company, I mean, we've seen the evolutionary journey that the sector has had and manufacturing has had on security platform. you're starting that journey from scratch within a company. Is it an easy conversation to talk about, right, we need to be getting ready for doing this in a secure manner with digital twins, with getting ready against these threats, we've got to have a high trust environment across all of these systems. Is that an easy conversation?
Internally, I think it's easier because we don't have legacy of 20, 30, 40 or 100 years, almost 100 years worth of that to deal with. But we deal with supply chain just as everybody else does. You know, I looked it up before I came on stage here. I looked it up. One of the other major manufacturers has about 20,000 suppliers. We're not there yet. We have about maybe a couple of hundred suppliers. So it isn't just how I manage, oops, I'm gonna get yelled at for bashing this. It isn't just how I manage my own security, it's how do I impart some of that knowledge onto the supply chain. We've taken a different approach. We've taken it from a very human approach. I come from a very technical background, but I also come from a background where I've done a lot of outreach. So rather than looking at somebody and going, you work for my company, you will be very, very respectful of my data, and God forbids the fact that you move that data anywhere, I go, hey, how can I help you with the human? How can I help your family? How can I help the kids, the guardians, those around you be more aware of safety and security? How do I empower you to make better decisions? We're all gonna click shit. I mean, let's face it, we do. But how do I get you to ask a question or two before you click something so that you're more aware? And you spread that word to the engineering teams, you spread it to the design teams, the manufacturer, I mean, our finance teams are probably among the worst because we're pre-revenue, so they start sending out prospectuses and financial data all over the place. And I'm like, okay, would you send your home bank records everywhere? And they're like, oh, heck no. I'm like, so why is it okay to send ours? Oh, didn't think of it that way. So then you take a step back and go, well, how would you send the bank records? Well, I'd encrypt them. All right, then let's give you a technology and a tool and a process that you can do that easily.
So you're winning the conversation internally. So let's talk about the platform itself.
Yeah.
So as you said before, you've got a greenfield site.
Yep.
Build a secure platform. Where do you go? How do you start?
Take a step back. So we have a fairly, like a lot of us, I mean, we're all beholden to regulatory and compliance. So when I walked into Boom, I'm like, where are we from a maturity standpoint? I was met with this, I'm like, all right, let's have the conversation. So we sat down and used NIST's cybersecurity framework. And we sat down and said, what's important to us? Again, whenever I walk into a company, I typically ask a simple question, how can I kill you? And it's not a facetious question, it's not being an arsehole, it's what could I do to take you down in the next 24 hours? Is it put a handful of sand in the 3D machine printer? Is it stop the supply chain? Is it break the network? And once we figure that out between all the different parties, now we know what we all have to address and what we care about. But the cybersecurity framework gives us some help on that one, because it's like, hey, we need to be at a maturity level of X, we want to be here, this is where we're at, now how do we address that?
But just, and evolve that conversation a bit more, but look at the cybersecurity framework.
Yeah.
What do you find in the way of gaps and overlaps and what it is you're trying to achieve?
Oh, it's a ton. Yeah, there's an absolute ton. I mean, when we walked in, I walked in and I'm like, okay, we have an endpoint detection. Great, yay, is it working? I'm like, okay, let's have that conversation. Then you start having the conversation about, where is my core data? Well, we don't know. Well, let's figure that out. Then the conversation is, look, if I poke something at 2 o'clock in the morning, who's going to be aware of it? So you start knocking off the low-hanging fruit. The biggest one for us is, where's the data and who has eyes on it? So at that point, we went out and we got a managed security provider, because I don't want to build a SOC and a NOC team, not at the size we're at, but I want to trust somebody. So we went out, we hung out with the New Spy crew. Maria was freaking amazing. She is a partner, not a vendor. And together we've sat down and we figured it all out.
So that's great. And then transferring that into a platform.
Yep.
That's
the next big one. That's what we're doing over at Ironbird. That is now collaborating with a lot of the third-party vendors. Quite a lot of the folks that are next door, and a lot that we have to still have conversations with, because they're going to come to us and go, hey, here's our widget, that goes in that part of the airplane. And I'm like, no, it doesn't. It doesn't, because we want to do things differently. It doesn't, because we want to help you evolve your security. We want to help you evolve the safety. And PS, not only that, all of the data is going to end up in my, I'll use AI and you can throw something at me, but I'm actually building a fucking AI engine, not something that says AI and is just machine learning on steroids. We're building a platform that nice way of putting it is we're basically building a self-healing aeroplane. And so everything that we're putting on that plane, we're able to pull the data off, take a look at a platform envelope and basically a flight envelope and how it should operate versus how it does versus all of the ancillary elements that it should be working with, and having the system make decisions. So anything that's coming into the plane has to be able to understand that. So I have that as a leverage. I also have the leverage as, hey, we're doing things differently. We're coming at this from a different approach. Let's have the conversations. Let's try to improve this.
So, but let's just expand on that though.
Yep.
So we're talking about that from an environmental, typically engines are very well connected computers on most aircraft currently as it is.
Oh yeah.
We're talking about doing more than that. So it's just, so there's engine data, cockpit data?
Yep, engine data, cockpit data, atmospherics data, anything. We're carbon fiber wings. So now we're going to pull all the sensor architecture off of those wings and make individual decisions there. The entire fuselage is carbon fiber as well. And also we're building our own engine. So I have an advantage there because we're not having to go out to any of the manufacturers and go, hey, we need your stuff. We can actually build. So I walk over to the engineering team and go, hey, I need to pull the stats off of that and drop them in here. And they're like, okay.
So that's the data architecture.
Yep.
And then the question is how you securing that. So you're hoovering it all up.
Yep.
Massive pipe going back to home base.
Oh yeah.
That has to be maintained and secured.
Oh yeah.
Because it has a big, massive attack me here sign on it.
Oh yeah.
So what's that mean?
So we've encryption at rest, encryption in data in motion, not too bad. What we're building, and I'm working with Arti Raman is absolutely amazing. She's over at Titanium.io. We're working with her on data in use, so encryption of data assets in use. So as that data is flowing in, we can actually leave it in an encrypted state and still take action upon it, which is freaking amazing. So yeah, there's some cool tech we're doing. And again, here's the fun thing about it. And I made this promise years and years ago, probably on live television, but I'll make it here and now. When we get to a point where, from a Boom standpoint, that chassis is ready to be rolled somewhere, it's coming here. We're going to roll it out, open the doors and go, bug bounty, have at it. So any of you that want to have a poke at the stuff that we're building, I actively encourage you, like seriously freaking actively encourage you.
I think the crowd reaction to that one is rude. That's a big clap to start with. I mean, to have a manufacturer rock up on the platform and go, have at it, it's not very often that happens. So A, looking forward to it. We're going to need a bigger boat, but we'll see. So from that perspective on bug bounty and that sort of stuff, that's great. But actually, you're also talking about doing things like digital twins and things like that as well. So you can look after the life of the platform, the life of the platform.
Yeah, so now we go, so it's kind of, how many of you are familiar with what a digital twin is? Or how many of you are not? Put a hand up, awesome. Okay, so it's simple. Yeah, that's it. I like people that don't know things. So you take a physical engine, and this actually happens in the marine side of the world, like heavily in the marine side of the world as well. You take an engine, those darn things are expensive. You want to know when it's going to break before it breaks. In other words, if I'm going from London to Sydney, I want to know before it leaves London if there's a likelihood of it breaking before it gets to Sydney, because I'm either going to swap it out, change it out, or I'll have a part waiting for me when it gets to Sydney. You can do that on the physical, but if you have a digital twin, it's basically a computer 3D, 4D, multi-dimensional model of what that plane has gone through, the stresses, the heats, the systems, the cycles, the locations. All of that data is fed in from a metallurgy standpoint, a design standpoint, all of these things is fed into this plane. It's literally a digital version of a physical asset. It's gone through the same stresses. So we're building that not just for the actual engines, but we're building it for as much of the system as humanly possible, because now the idea is now we can get into the predictive side of the world. In other words, if it's going over the Arctic more than it's going over a sandbox, is a widget likely to change and fail more often? Is something else likely to happen? Are the passengers likely to be affected more? So you start building the relationships. For those of you who built relational architectures in threat intelligence, say, you build strong and weak relationships between each one of these systems. You basically throw an intelligence model at it and go, tell me when this bloody thing's going to break. You do that for everything, including atmospherics. So I'm building an atmospherics engine in, so I know what I'm likely to be flying through, pulling it out of nowhere and going, hey, how does that affect my digital twin on this route versus this time? And you build a model, and then you go, right, now tell me when the thing's going to break.
So for those who've been in aviation a long time, it used to be something called fatigue index, which still happens to every aircraft has a fatigue index. And the way that they used to check when the wing was going to fall off is that they were trying to rapidly give that wing lots to do over a short period of time. So they used to build an aircraft, full size, and then basically flex it as quickly as possible, as often as possible. So let's say if they found out that after 10,000 wing flexes, the wing was snapped, that then gave them their buffer, they're going, right, when you have 5,000 wing flexes, you're going to change the wing. That's how a lot of the safety margins were built into the aviation to be the digital twins managed to accelerate it back on steroids.
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah. And the nice thing about it is we use 60, 70 million core hours of HPC compute at the moment for the flight. You can throw this stuff at that and you can say, hey, if I fly this route, give me the predictive analytics as to basically when it's going to fail. It's beautiful.
So, modern architecture, greenfield, digital twins, come here, play with it, all good. You haven't come up with this off the bat from nowhere. It's based on the experience you've had up to this point.
Yep.
It's been a journey, let's face it.
Oh yeah.
So what advice would you give to your younger self based on the journey you've had?
I think if we take the entire journey, for so many years I was focused on the technology. For so many years it was chase the technology. I didn't take that step back and go, how do I communicate that effectively? I mean, let's face it, we all know what happened. I thought I communicated effectively and efficiently. It's obvious it didn't happen. It's obviously that two-way communication failed and failed miserably. No blame anywhere, it happened. The learning lesson there is we have to do a better job. Both teams, both sides. I'm now on the other side. I'm actually researching my own stuff and still researching stuff in there. But I now have to look at it. We had somebody hit me up the other day and said, hey, I found a vulnerability in the site. I'm like, brilliant, tell me about it. I don't have a formal panel room, but tell me about it and I'll figure out a way to say thank you. And so I think a lot of it is communication. And a lot of it now, thankfully, is down to collaboration. This whole area is freaking amazing because it's collaborative. It's not adversarial. These are people sitting here and talking. For those of you that follow me on LinkedIn, I put a post out last evening and you'll see it. It talks about a handshake. It talks about a very, very special handshake that happened yesterday. That's here. And so we have the collaboration, we have the cooperation. Now we've got to coordinate. I think that's the big one. My former younger self is how do we coordinate more efficiently? That's one of the big ones. I mean, we all know to ask the questions, we all know to learn, we all know to investigate stuff, but it's how do I take that information and basically use it and share it in a way that everybody benefits rather than turning the adversarial side. I mean, it's rough. I'd probably also say, hey, land and then tweet. That would be the one thing if I was still allowed on Twitter, but I'm not, so that's a different conversation. There's life.
I just say it's really, really great to hear. Absolutely chuffed to hear. Long overdue. And I just say, completely second that collaboration, working together, and then building trust. Because everything you're doing on your platform is all about building trust in the platform.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
No matter what's thrown at it, it's building trust in the platform.
Yeah.
Which completely chimes with the village and all the amazing community we've got in the village, and doing all the stuff next door.
Totally, thank you. Absolutely appreciate it.
Mate, thank you so much for coming in.
This was good.
This will be back for questions as we go through. Please see this as a really sort of start of another edition, getting it back in and working together.
Totally. Hopefully next year I'll bring more than just Boom stickers. No more. Yeah, we're not bringing alcohol here again. Sorry on the goon side. Like seriously sorry. Did not mean to get yelled at. Ish.
Everybody, thank you very much. Look forward to some questions back from Chris. Have a wonderful day. Up next is myself with some of the founders of Village. And we're going to talk about how on earth we ended up here, some of the lessons that we will see about trying to get this off the ground, and also some of the amusing stories if we're not going to record it, and then we can release the road. So look forward to conversations in the future. Thank you very much.